Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's unincorporated Alameda County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, December 14, 2023. My name is Amber Lowe. I'm a principal civil engineer with Alameda County Public Works Agency for the Transportation Division. Before we get started with today's meeting, I want to go over a few announcements. We are conducting tonight's meeting remotely by teleconference, and the teleconferencing guidelines were provided with the agenda. If you are having any technical difficulties, please call our help desk at 510-670-5755 for assistance. And public participants will have an opportunity to provide comments during the public comment section on items not on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand to be called on. If you're joining by phone, please raise your hand by dialing *9. And I just want to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded. And this is the agenda tonight. After reading and approval of the minutes, we will have a presentation by Matthew Bomberg from the ACTC on the East Bay Greenway Multimodal Project. I end share so I can see you guys. Okay, so I called tonight's meeting to order at 6:09. And we will conduct roll call now. Sharon Bahoman, Shonita Chu, Bruce Doogie.
Here.
Rachel Factor. Dan Leary.
Here.
Cindy Torres. Crystal Wang.
Here.
Nikki Wente. Michael Williams. Michael? He's here.
I'm here. Are you getting my audio?
Now we are.
Okay, that's weird. Okay.
So we have 4 members from the BPAC here tonight. So we don't have a quorum. So we won't be able to vote on the minutes, but let's still review the minutes from the previous meeting, September 28th, and let me know if you have any comments. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, and let's see. Need to check the public. There's no hands up. Okay. So, oh no, I skipped the number. Public comment item on the agenda. If anyone in the public would like to speak on a topic that's not on tonight's agenda, please raise your virtual hand. And if you're calling by phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. I see a hand up. Okay, wait just a minute. Okay, are you able to unmute yourself?
I hope so.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Hi, this is Kelly. One of the things that's shown up occasionally on some of the agendas of various agencies is the Niles Canyon Bicycle Pedestrian Trail Planning. So, and I believe the leader of that is the Alameda County Public Works Agency. So a very important project. And as we go along, you know, we tend to lose track of it because there are not a lot of updates, status updates on the planning and the progress of that project. And as you know, a lot of these trails, a lot of these bicycle projects or pedestrian projects they don't actually have any measurable milestones. So if you look at the total project timeline, it might take, I don't know, 10 years, and maybe only 3 years can you see the concrete moving, and can you see the dirt getting dug. And the rest of the time, it's out there on some computer screens. So just want to express interest in the Niles Canyon bicycle pedestrian trail planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see any other hands, so I'm going to close public comments. So we'll go into item number 5 on our agenda tonight, which is a presentation on the East Bay Greenway multimodal project. I'm Matt Bomberg from ACTC, Alameda CTC.
Okay, thanks very much for the opportunity to come present to the unincorporated county BPAC tonight. Matt Bomberg, Senior Transportation Engineer with the Alameda County Transportation Commission. I'm joined by Lawrence Lewis with Kittleson & Associates, who's our consultant project manager. I'm the project manager for the East Bay Greenway project. It's a major regional trail corridor that Alameda CTC is leading the implementation of. And we're here to present tonight an update on the concept design. We did present on this project previously, and now we're back to share the concept design with the BPAC. So I will go ahead and share my screen and run through a brief presentation and then open it up to any input and comments. So please let me know if you're not seeing the shared screen. Okay.
We see it.
All right, so as mentioned, the East Bay Greenway is a regional trail project. Alameda CTC is the implementing agency for the portion that goes from Oakland down to Hayward, which is approximately 16 miles, spanning 4 different jurisdictions and connecting 7 BART stations. And the sort of overarching goal of the project is to provide a continuous regional trail corridor along the BART alignment. This map shows sort of the totality of the project from Oakland down to Hayward. And you'll see there's 2 lines on here. That is because the project has actually been phased into a phase 1 and a phase 2 project. The East Bay Greenway was originally conceived of as running in the BART and UP corridor directly along BART, but due to challenges obtaining the necessary right-of-way for that project and funding challenges, there was a decision in 2021 to phase the project into a phase 1, which runs along parallel city streets and incorporates kind of local projects wherever possible, and a phase 2, which is sort of the long-term rail trail corridor project. So the more meandering line here is the phase 1 project, which is what Alameda CTC is actively working on. This red circle here is the portion Alameda CTC is working on within the unincorporated county. The total East Bay Greenway within the unincorporated county would also incorporate the purple portions here, which are sort of complete streets projects that the county has actually already implemented it or is actively working on. So that the Alameda CTC-led portions would work together with the sort of locally led projects to create a continuous trail corridor through these 4 jurisdictions. So this is just a little more on the phasing. Again, the phase 1, which we also refer to as East Bay Greenway multimodal project, follows parallel streets kind of outside of the UP Railroad corridor. And Alameda CTC was actually charged by our commission with developing a phase 1 project that could be delivered within 3 to 5 years. So it's really a goal of getting this sort of active transportation network and safety benefits out on the street as fast as possible. And then the longer term project is the phase 2 project, which would run in the rail corridor, was actually previously environmentally cleared, but has a longer term timeline and is not actively being worked on because of the right-of-way and funding challenges. So this is a zoom in of the portion of the East Bay Greenway that Alameda CTC is working on in the unincorporated county. This is so within Ashland. It's actually a fairly short segment. It's 0.3 mile long, about 3 blocks from Bayfair Drive down to 162nd Avenue. To the north is City of San Leandro, and Alameda CTC is also working with Oakland and San Leandro on the East Bay Greenway to the north. And then to the south is the existing separated bikeways and complete streets improvements that were already constructed by the county. Part of the county segment would also include some improvements along 159th Avenue and Coelho Drive to provide a connection into the Bayfair BART station, since East 14th doesn't directly connect to the BART station. And an overarching goal of the project is those BART station connections. Project benefits include multimodal connectivity along the BART corridor, environmentally sustainable options, lower greenhouse gas emission and air polluting options. And the project goes through a number of corridors that have high asthma rates and a need for clean transportation options. Improve safety, particularly for vulnerable road users. And this project runs parallel to a number of streets that are within Alameda County's high injury network. Access to destinations, including transit centers, priority development areas, parks, schools, and then investment in equity priority communities. Significant portions of the East Bay Greenway overlap with regionally identified equity priority communities, which are areas that have high levels of disadvantage and have not shared in transportation benefits historically. So just a little bit on kind of our project development process. From 2018 to 2020, Alameda CTC was leading a East 14th and Mission corridor study that some of you probably tracked or participated in. This sort of was established a near and long-term vision for this multi-jurisdictional arterial corridor. And around the time that this study was being conducted was when some of the right-of-way challenges associated with the sort of East Bay Greenway rail trail concept were being identified. And so kind of an outcome of this corridor study was that East 14th Street could serve as the East Bay Greenway alignment in the near term. So last year and the first part of this year is about to wrap up, Alameda CTC did a round of outreach really focused on developing the specifics of what an on-street East Bay Greenway alignment in Ashland and in unincorporated county could look like, understanding kind of what the issues and needs along the section of East 14th are, as well as the priorities among kind of different cross-section options and trade-offs, because it's a constrained right-of-way, and not necessarily able to fit everything that you might like in terms of the different street elements. So there are trade-offs. And we did present to the BPAC about a year ago during this round of outreach. And then this year, the second half of this year, we've actually been developing a concept plan, reviewing it with partner agencies, including AC Transit, HARD, BART, Resources for Community Development, which is an affordable housing developer along section of East 14th, and of course the County Public Works Agency. And this BPAC presentation is part of this round of outreach we're doing on the concept plan. One of the things we've also been doing both during the prior round of outreach and this current round of outreach is going door to door and talking to the businesses and property owners that directly front the project, because there are street changes proposed and significant trade-offs. So this is a bit of a refresher from the past presentation, but just the different elements included in the project include like protected bikeways, protected intersections, transit loading islands where people waiting for the bus have a dedicated space where buses and bikes don't have to cross paths at a bus stop, pedestrian scale lighting, directional curb ramps, and then some other elements like sidewalk repair. There's significant sections of uplifted sidewalk along this section of East 14th, stormwater treatment features, high visibility crosswalks, and potentially opportunities for things like bike racks, public art, or street furnishings. So now I'm going to provide a bit of an overview of the concept design, which is really the main purpose of tonight's presentation. So this is, again, as I mentioned, a constrained corridor. It's about 100 feet from right-of-way line to right-of-way line and 73 feet from curb to curb today. And so fitting all of the different street elements that we might want involves some level of compromise and trade-offs. And so the concept design that we have to present tonight is really kind of a hybrid design that actually has a couple of different cross sections that alternate throughout the corridor, which is really a reflection of those trade-offs and sort of compromises. So I'll start by kind of showing the two different cross sections and then show what it looks like more from a bird's eye or plan view perspective. So on the cross sections, this is the cross section that is proposed for most of this section of East 14th, which is again is the 3 blocks from Bayfair to 162nd. So today there's 4 travel lanes, 2 in each direction, 2 parking lanes, median, which is also left turn pockets at intersections, and it's a planted median, and then 10-foot sidewalks and planter sort of utility zone on each side of the sidewalk. So for much of the corridor, what's proposed is maintaining the travel lanes and the median as they are, maintaining the sidewalks as they are, adding pedestrian scale lighting, and then converting the parking lanes to protected bike lanes, which would be separated from traffic by a raised curb island. But as mentioned, this is kind of a hybrid design, and there are some sections along these 3 blocks of East 14th where, through our initial outreach to businesses, we did identify high pockets of need for on-street parking and businesses that really don't have a lot of alternatives to on-street parking and loading. They just don't really have off-street parking lots or have other kind of specific on-street loading needs. And so for some select locations, what we are proposing in the concept design is to retain a section of on-street parking. And the way this would be done is by narrowing the sidewalk, having the bike lane essentially ramp up and shift into the sidewalk area. And there would be some tree impacts, but maintaining a buffer between the parking lane and the separated bike lane, which could also be a place for lighting and other some street furnishings. So this is again for some select kind of sections of the corridor, portions of blocks, and I'll switch to the kind of the aerial view, which shows that in a little more detail. So there's 3 blocks that I'll walk through that comprise this project within the county, and then I'll kind of orient you to them and then open this up for questions and input. So this is the block from Bayfair Drive to 159th Avenue. So project would connect to the East Bay Green improvements in San Leandro, which Alameda CTC is working on with the city of San Leandro separately. And then south of Bayfair Drive, there would be the protected bike lanes, maintaining the 4 travel lanes, 2 per direction. Along this particular block, there would be a section of on-street parking kept kind of around Bayfair Drive and Plaza Drive. And then in the plan view, you can see that part of the proposed concept design is also things like bulb outs at very wide intersections with wide returns that can promote high-speed vehicular turns. The bus stop design, which would have the bike lane kind of bend into the sidewalk area to create that bus loading island. And then we are proposing a protected intersection at the intersection of East 14th and 159th Avenue, which is kind of a connection point into the BART station via 159th. So the next block is from 159th to Ashland Avenue. So you can see there's a couple of pockets along this block, one on both the southbound and one in the northbound, where some on-street parking would be retained by, again, having the bike lane kind of bend into the sidewalk area. The bus islands are proposed at 159th and at Ashland Avenue. And then high visibility crosswalks, intersection crossing markings for cyclists to guide them through the intersection and promote driver awareness of the bike crossing. And then the final block of the project is from Ashland Avenue to 162nd. This block is adjacent to the Pedestrian Vasquez Health Center. There's also an affordable housing development currently under construction here, and a future park by Hayward Area Recreation District at the intersection of Ashland Avenue. Actually, given that we have both the representative from AC Transit and HARD on tonight's meeting, one kind of question that gets some group discussion on is the location of this bus stop. This bus stop in the northbound direction is currently far side of the intersection at Ashland Avenue, and have all else equal, there's understanding is there's a general preference from AC Transit for bus stops to be far side of the intersection for operational reasons, so that the bus is less likely to get stuck at a red light. But there was a suggestion from HARD to actually relocate the stop to near side because of the park and the affordable housing development, which will have other services associated with it under construction here, just to have that bus stop a little closer to those trip generators. So that's something Alameda CTC is definitely open to, and curious to hear your thoughts on that. And again, these blocks on both sides, there would be some on-street parking retained, really strategically located at places where initial outreach to the businesses indicated a higher need for on-street parking, as well as just kind of fewer driveway conflicts. And then at 162nd Avenue, the project would tie into the existing separated bike lanes and streetscape improvements that were already constructed by the county. So that's an overview of the concept design. I'll wrap up with just a high-level kind of project schedule. This is specific to this segment from Bayfair to 162nd. So we are currently kind of underway with the concept planning. Once we have a concept design that has been reviewed and vetted by all the stakeholders and adjacent businesses and property owners, we would do environmental studies. And then we would be working with the county on final design and construction. This segment is not currently funded for construction, but there are a lot of grant funding sources out there that could fund this project, and Alameda CTC's actually had some grant funding successes with some of the segments to the north in Oakland and San Fernando. So that is it in terms of presentation material, and happy to open it up to questions from the group, and thank you again for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Matt, for your presentation. I'll open it up to the committee to speak, I guess. You guys can. I saw Bruce's hand and then Crystal.
Yes, Matthew, thanks for the, I think it's great improvement to hear we actually have some protected bike lanes through there. The question I have is that not all the intersections were protected. Is there a reason for that? Can we protect more of those intersections?
The focus was really on protected intersections at streets that are intersecting bike routes and kind of the connecting points into the BART station. I think the segment only has 4 intersections, and 2 out of the 4 have protected intersections, so Bayfair and 159th. Ashland Avenue, a T intersection, there's kind of 2 major bike movements on and off of it. So for the left turn from East 14th onto Ashland Avenue, there's a 2-stage Q-turn box proposed that's actually kind of in line with these protection islands and the bus loading island. So this one's fairly protected. And then for the left turn from Ashland Avenue onto onto East 14th heading northbound, somebody could, once you cross this way, there's not really like another intersecting leg here. So once you
Yeah,
cross this way, you essentially have made the left turn. But yeah, if there's particular movements that you think we should take a look at more protection here, we can definitely look at refining that. And then 162nd is not an intersecting bike route, so that was kind of the reason for not exploring a protected intersection there.
So are the lights such that, are there bicycle specific lights? And in the protected intersections, is it 2 movements to make a left turn? 2 lights?
Yeah, so we've not gotten to the level of design yet where we've determined if there would be bike signal heads, or if the bikes would go with the vehicular signal heads, or in some cases it could even be with a pedestrian signal. That's something we'll be exploring as part of the final design. Typically with the protected intersection, one of the benefits is that lets somebody make a left turn in 2 stages. So for instance, if somebody's coming southbound and turning onto 159th Avenue, so going kind of from left to right across the page and making this turn, you could cross to here and then wait in this area and then cross that way, rather than into like merge across lanes of traffic into a left turn pod.
But the key to making that practical is the timing of the light, right? For the cyclist.
Yeah, so they would go with traffic to cross this way and then wait, and then go with the green to cross this way. So it is, yeah, two lights.
But if there's anything to do to reduce the weight, I guess, I think in Europe they have it timed somehow a little better, or well, or something. I don't know. I guess that's it for now.
Thanks, Bruce. Crystal?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation today, and thanks for continuing to coordinate with AC Transit to make sure that transit operations and paratransit operations are considered in the design of this project. And I also wanted to apologize because I know I still owe you an email about bus stop relocations and potential bus stop bike lane configurations. We've just been super swamped at AC Transit lately, as Lawrence can attest to. So I will get back to you about those bus stops soon. And also I just wanted to note that AC Transit is currently in the process of updating our multimodal design guidelines. And as part of that, we intend to address configurations for bus stops and bike lanes in constrained conditions like this. So I'll get back to you shortly. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks. And I'll just quickly note, Kristen mentioned paratransit, and that is something we've been thinking about. And one of the reasons that this design retains some on-street parking on every block essentially is that that also provides curb access for paratransit vehicles should there be a paratransit call at a property along the block. So.
Dan, and then Michael. I think, Dan, you put your hand down, but you wanted to speak, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for bringing this project to us tonight. And I can understand this is quite a challenge because you have a very narrow street right of way to work with here. So I can see the challenge that you have in front of you. It's because you're adding bike lanes where there are not bike lanes, and you're trying to make them protected. So we're definitely support you in that. We're on your side. I wanted to ask a little bit about, is this project subject to the Ashland specific plan? Because I know that's an old document, but does that still apply to this project?
I know it is within the area covered by the specific plan. I think in terms of whether there are
Well, the
requirements
reason I'm
in the
asking
plan that apply to
is,
the project, I'm less clear. I think that has definitely requirements that apply to land use projects, but yeah.
we just want to make you aware of that, because it has, that document has some really good things in there that will, I think, be helpful. If I remember correctly, it talks a lot about helping the businesses and making more of a community feel to that area. And one thing that I remember from that document is it talks about, obviously this is improving bicycles a lot and also pedestrians, but having mid-block crossings. And I believe that document has kind of a maximum or some kind of guidance on how frequently there should be crosswalks. And even, I believe the segment from Bayfair to 159th is 1,000 or 1,100 feet between those two intersections. So if you do the math on how long it would take for somebody who's in the middle to walk to the next street, it's getting close to, 2 or 3 minutes to do that. And so I know that if you think in terms of traffic calming and I think there's some good language in there about, to make it feel like a community, it's not just about people moving north-south, but people be able to interact across the street with, and as this place develops, you might have housing on one side and commercial on the other. And if you can activate the commercial, if people can get from one side of the street to the other. So I don't know if that's, let's see, 159th to Bayfair. And then the section that's on your screen right now is also, maybe at Thrush, or just something to look at, if there's an opportunity for a mid-block, because the medians will help you with that, right? With maybe an RFB somewhere in between those streets is something to consider. And it'll also help to slow down the traffic. And I want to ask this, my second question relates to that, is I want to ask this in the right way, because we definitely want the bike lane like you've shown it here. Is there a strategy for parking, like a parking study? Because the specific plan has language like parking shall not be diminished, or if I remember correctly, so it's something to watch out for, or to be ready for, to have you need facts. And maybe you've been looking at this already, the parking counts in this area.
Yeah, we have done both parking supply and occupancy data collection, as well as just talking directly to the businesses about what their needs are in terms of where their customers and employees park, if they have deliveries, if they have passenger loading needs. Yeah, it's definitely been a consideration, is this concepts with and we've been reviewing the same thing that is being presented to the feedback tonight with the businesses, sharing the design specifics with them. And I think there will be a few tweaks to this based on what we've heard from some of the businesses. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to just understanding their specific needs and making sure that where we are retaining parking along the corridor is well aligned to where the businesses that have the needs are. Because some of the businesses do have large off-street lots.
No, I appreciate the boldness. I mean, this is how to approach it, because I've seen cases where just one stall, people, and hey, that's one parking stall, but making the bikes a priority and the pedestrians is going to really help the community. I have a couple more questions, but maybe I'll pause in case somebody else wants to talk for a little bit.
I saw Michael's hand up for a second.
Okay, yeah, mine, I won't be that long. So I appreciate the proposal and Dan's questions for sure. Those are good. I think the only thing I'm going to say, just since I'm on here representing HARD, number one, the review that's been done so far was really by other HARD project managers. So tonight, I'm not going to advocate one way or the other. I think those questions that were brought up, and Matthew knows that came from so I'm going to just let those things stand, because it sounds like they're all still subject to AC Transit's review. So I guess I'll wait and see what Crystal says about the locations of all the bus stops, confirmed or not, and then that one that you were referring to near the park. So I guess those are things that you're still going to weigh in on, right, Crystal? Okay, so that's fine. So I think I just wanted to say, yeah, me being from Hart, I should not say anything about this, but it's already been looked at. Matthew's aware, and Crystal still has to provide input. So I'm just gonna, remain on the outside of it for right now. So just throwing that out there. But otherwise, I do like the plan. I know, for the community and the community feel and aspects of it are great. Those are good points. And then also, Matthew, at some point in the future, I will reach back out to you and Lawrence about some of your parking studies, just so it can help inform other things. Because I know, like, even the Creekway is going to have some connections on Ashland on a little further to the, I guess it would be south, but things that we'll want to tie that into this as well at some point. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just a couple more items here I wanted to ask. And this is a good slide here to this when the bikeway ramps up and then ramps down, and then we're sidewalk level. Would the bikeway be the same level as is like a 2-tier, like where there's a second tier for the bikeway, or is it at the sidewalk level, like behind the parking area?
Yeah, so our thought was that it would be at the same level as the sidewalk. Okay. And there's still some details to be worked out in terms of how you communicate to users that it's bike space versus walking space. I think color contrast, different material can go a long way.
Yep.
But as part of the final design, we would also look into whether we want some kind of detectable edge or something to provide some tactile feedback to people, but as they're kind of walking along the sidewalk, that they're approaching the bike space. But yeah, since this is already at sidewalk level, part of the thought was just from there might be some utility boxes in the sidewalk that are already at the sidewalk. Right. So those could just be incorporated into the bike lane by keeping it at the sidewalk grade.
I think that's right. And I think some of the standards have changed a little bit where you can go sidewalk level. And I don't even know if you have to have that continuous tactile strip anymore. There might be different vertical elements that you can put in there. So I think you're on the right track there for sure. Where if the timeline allows, for the county, the space that's within the county right of way, I hope there's enough time in the schedule to make sure we get that space back if people are encroaching, because we're going to need every inch, especially in those locations, like if people have moved their fences out, whatever lead time's necessary to make sure that's public space, that we get that back, to build all that, because it's such a narrow public right of way to do all this. And the last question is, I know in some of the areas on this corridor, there's already no U-turns allowed, but in some of the intersections, there are currently U-turns that would obviously start moving the bikeway in with the raised curbs, that they wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So as long as we're ready to answer that question, when people say, someone's trying to get to a store and their favorite store on the way home and they can't make that U-turn to use that business, as long as we have an answer for that question, that might come up.
That's a very savvy question. So for the 3 intersections that are within the Ashland unincorporated county segment, 159th and Ashland, actually, both of those intersections, U-turns are already prohibited.
Oh, good. Okay.
162nd, interestingly, there's no signage out there right now prohibiting U-turns, but our review of the existing intersection geometry is that there actually is not enough clearance for standard U-turn clearance. So we are actually proposing to restrict these, but that's more because of the existing intersection geometry than any changes proposed through this project. Because you can kind of see this, the curb line actually kind of bulbs in by about 5 feet at the intersection.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So yeah, there is one new U-turn restriction proposed at 162nd, or one intersection with U-turns, I should say, but it's really to correct an existing issue.
My Corolla could make that turn right there. So not my F-150 though, but my Corolla, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bruce?
Yeah, I think along the lines of what Dan was saying about the elevation of the bike lane. So on the one side, you have it at sidewalk level. Is it possible to have it on the sidewalk level on both sides?
For the places where the bike lane is not bending into the parking, or sorry, excuse me, bending into the sidewalk, we're really trying to maintain the existing curb and gutter and flow line where it is. So raising up the bike lane to sidewalk level would involve shifting the flow line out and completely changing the drainage of the roadway, essentially. So that's why we're really limiting the sidewalk level bike lane to the places where the bike lane is kind of bending into the sidewalk area.
Gotcha. So it's a kind of a cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing is, so you will have double ramps at the intersections on the corners, double pedestrian ramps. I saw you had a picture of a double ramp. I just wanted to sort of confirm that you'd have instead of one of those single large ramps. It sounds like, especially with the protected intersection, you're sort of forced into it, I think.
Yeah, and that's not a detail that we've
gotten into yet.
Developed on all of these concept drawings yet, but that is the intention, is that the project would include directional ramps.
Okay. Thanks.
And I kind of glossed over this, but right now at 162nd, there's only one crosswalk across East 14th, so we're looking at adding the crosswalk on the other line here.
Yeah, so I actually use 164th when I ride in that area because I cross over Miramar. So Miramar becomes 164th, and then I take it straight down. I can't remember. I cross East 14th at 164th, and then I get to the BART underneath from a different direction. But I might actually just, once this is installed, then I can actually just make a right turn and and run along East 14th. That would be nice. Because Bayfair BART is near where it's one of my BART stations.
Any BPAC members have any other comments before we go to the public? Okay. Kelly A has had his hand up for a while, so Matt, I'm gonna take over the screen with my timer, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, this project area is kind of unique. As you know, I've been visiting this area for a little bit, and what makes it unique, it has a huge amount. One of the densest developments in unincorporated Alameda County is right up and down this street in Ashland. So the plans are to put in vast amounts of multi-story, high-density, small apartment units, pack them in there right along this street, and I think it'll be more density than anywhere else in the county. So in that respect, it is incumbent upon somebody to make the place nice for all that new development and all that dense population. However, you know, when I looked at this, it looks so much nicer than what I'm used to. And what I'm comparing it to is south of 238. If you go down south of this a mile or so and go south of 238, if you compare these two areas, they're both within unincorporated county, but of course, one's got the creek going underneath with the that HART is going to be working on down south. But down south in Cherryland, or whatever that's called, south of 238, that thing has no trees. It has no paint on the roads. It has everything just kind of degrades into bland concrete and asphalt. But if you look at what you've been planning up here and towards Bayfair and towards Tiburcio Vasquez Health Center, you've got trees, you've got nice road designs. You've already done a huge amount of upgrades. So it's like a tale of two sides of the tracks, or two sides of the freeway. And down towards Hayward, the part that I've spent more time in, our area is the slums, and up there towards Bayfair, it's really nice looking. It would be nice to get a few more trees towards Cherryland. Thanks.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think, Kelly, I think that section that you're talking about is actually already planned to have trees and protected bike lanes, and I believe that's also funded, unlike this section that we're talking about today. So I think that's going to be really a great improvement, because as you say, it's not very pleasant. I that's where I do some of my shopping in that area, and it's yeah, not very pleasant right now. So it's going to be really great. Did Amber yet have any idea on timing on that one?
We are planning to construct in 2024. I think he was referring to the area that's under construction for the utility undergrounding project.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. I was going to say that's already been working on. Yes, they're undergrounding right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan
Gotta
knows
get
all
the
about the
power-
project. I know he's gonna talk.
Well, the power poles have to come down first, and that takes a while. So once the conduits are in the ground, then they can pull wires.
Mm.
All the utility companies have to pull the wires through the empty conduits, energize every house, every building, and then the power poles can come down, and then they can build the complete streets. So it's a ways to go.
Yeah, it's a great project though, and it's really going to improve the area.
I think that's all the comments we have, and thank you so much for presenting, Matt.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. And
Thank you.
happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Right.
So next item on our agenda is future agenda topics. We have one request already for bringing back the Somerset Avenue project that was discussed here, I think, last year. So that's one item that's going to be on the March agenda. Is there anything else? I think like there were some requests. Oh, Crystal. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I'd also like to bring back an update on AC Transit's transit supportive design guidelines effort.
And I think I recruited Dan to do the bike and ped 101 that Michael requested. If we don't have time at the March meeting, we think maybe June in person.
June sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks. Looking forward to that.
Okay. So yeah, you can email me if you think of any like short. Oh, I see Bruce's hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bruce.
I think we talked about the climate change or climate, what do you call it? Climate action plan, because that's in process right now, the brand new one. And so I think it would be great for the BPAC members to understand how how we fit into that. So as it turns out, we're one of the most important parts. Bike and ped has been identified as the single most important action in the climate action plan. And so it would be nice to have that sort of presentation to everybody.
I'll see if I can find somebody to present on that.
I bet they have a team if they're working on it, they're kind of going around showing it to people, and even the one chapter that would cover us, because some of those standards aren't intuitive, like we wouldn't just know it. You'd have to actually see the document to understand, because it's more long-term goals. So that would be helpful if there's a group that's putting that together, they probably would be open to presenting at least part of it.
I think it's the Alameda County Planning Department. And another thing, and this may fit into what you had in mind for Dan to do, is this level of traffic stress for cycling. I think something, we should talk about level of stress. We talk about level of service, and we never talk about pedestrians or cyclists. And I couldn't find anything really on pedestrian level of service, but level of stress is something that, has been published on cycling.
So for March, I have Somerset, AC Transit's design guideline updates, and then possibly the climate action plan. Let's see who can present. Okay. All right. So any other thing you guys wanted to mention before we adjourn the meeting?
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So our next meeting, who's that? Michael, did you say something?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, so our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, March 28th at 6 o'clock, and we'll send the agenda out before the meeting. Okay. It's now 7 o'clock, and today's meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays. Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
good night. Happy holidays.
Right.